Hello, this is Bill Serban, Director of the Center for Advancing Teaching and Learning at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse. In part one of this presentation, I identified four major factors that influence motivation: students' goals, beliefs about whether they have the ability to succeed, the value or importance of their goals, and their attributions for success and failure. This segment identifies strategies to support students' engagement, effort, and persistence. No single strategy is likely to change students' motivation dramatically. A more realistic approach is to view motivation as a multifaceted issue, adopt several strategies, and try to build a course that supports student effort in multiple ways. This presentation includes 10 ways to support student motivation. They're divided into two groups. Group 1 strategies focus mainly on how the instructor communicates with students. These are relatively easy to use strategies that do not involve significant changes in one's teaching. Group 2 strategies have implications for instruction that may require you to revise assignments or rethink the ways you evaluate and give feedback to students. Let's begin with enthusiasm. Demonstrate your passion and enthusiasm for the subject. Teachers' enthusiasm makes a difference to students. When it is obvious that a teacher is excited and cares about the subject, it is easier for students to care about it, or at least to be open to the subject. Conversely, students will say that if a teacher does not care about the subject, it has a deadening effect on their interest. If the instructor doesn't care, why should they? Think about motivating the material. To the extent possible, connect the subject matter to authentic concerns, issues, purposes, and problems. It is easy for students to lose sight of the big picture and to view courses as just a lot of material to assimilate. You may increase their interest in your subject by creating contexts in which the material answers a significant question, problem, or issue. This involves problematizing the material, starting with authentic questions and then using the course content to answer them. In other words, the material is not just more stuff to learn for a test, but consists of solutions, answers, and ways of thinking about meaningful issues. Demonstrate the instrumental value of your subject matter. Students often complain that they have to take certain classes that are irrelevant to them. If you really want students to know how your class can be relevant and important to their current and future goals, tell them. Make a case for your course. Build your case into the course syllabus and then reinforce it through the term by highlighting the relevance of course material to other classes and to their future professional work. Clarify your expectations. To strengthen students' sense of efficacy, explain course goals to help them understand what they need to accomplish, what they should know and be able to do by the end of the course. Instructors often do this by listing course objectives in their syllabi and discussing these with students. This is a start, but in my view, teachers need to clarify expectations throughout a course. For example, many instructors tell students that a major goal of their course is to develop critical thinking skills. An important next step is to clarify what critical thinking looks like in your course. A concrete way to convey these expectations is to show students examples of work by students from previous classes. Review several examples in class to highlight strengths and weaknesses in relation to course goals. Show students how to succeed in the course. Help students understand what they can do to attain the course goals. General admonitions, such as telling students to do all the homework, read assignments before class, and study at least 3 hours for every hour spent in class, are weak prescriptions for success. Of course, we want students to do the work in a timely fashion, and they do need to know that the class requires significant effort. However, more effort may not always lead to success. What if students try and can't do the homework? What if they read the assignments and study a lot but do it ineffectively? Perhaps what they need more is direction about how to do well in the course. Here are 3 examples of ways to show students how to succeed. 1. Ask students who have done well in your course to write a brief description of their approach to studying. What did they do in the class that led to their success? Make these examples available to students at the beginning of your classes. 2. Show students how to do the coursework. If reading, for example, is essential in the class, show students how to read for understanding, how to read critically, how to read more like professionals in your field. And third, show students how to do important assignments. Give students guidelines and recommendations about how to do assignments or prepare for exams. Now I'd like to turn to 5 harder to use strategies. These may, in fact, affect the way that you teach. They invite you to rethink the way that you design assignments and also evaluate and give feedback to students. Use authentic tasks. The purpose of many school tasks is to measure what students have learned. We know from motivation research that students are more likely to be interested in tasks that have a purpose beyond being evaluated and beyond the classroom. Adding authentic assignments to your class is a way to enhance students' interest and sense of value in the work. You can make projects, presentations, reports, and papers more authentic simply by developing a real-life context for the assignment and giving students a role to play and a specific audience for the completed work. Students can be asked to write op-ed pieces, letters to the editor, blog responses, Wikipedia entries, give presentations to school boards, city councils, or other decision-making groups. They can be assigned to roles such as special consultants, grant writers, tutors, judges, policymakers, members of a task force, blue ribbon committee, research teams, and so forth. Even in large classes, students can do assignments that have an element of authenticity. For example, small groups of students may be assigned to be consultants to the instructor. Their job is to research a problem or topic and then prepare 1 or 2 slides along with explanatory material that the instructor can incorporate into class lecture. Provide early success opportunities. In some classes, students have few opportunities to demonstrate their learning. There may be 3 high-stakes events, 2 large exams and a final. Their performance on the first test may seal their fate for the remainder of the class. Consider using several short assignments to help students build skills and efficacy for larger projects in the class. Early success can help students stay focused on effort and buffer them from the larger, high-stakes evaluations in the course. An example is to give practice tests so that students get a sense of where they stand and have time to make adjustments in their studying before major graded tests and assignments. Try to use targeted feedback. Instructors' evaluations and feedback have an effect on how students view their ability, their progress, their growth, and even their sense of whether they belong in college or in the course. For example, feedback can promote a mastery orientation if it shows how students are doing compared to well-defined standards, highlights their strengths and weaknesses, and suggests further action. In contrast, some types of feedback promote a performance orientation, especially if it highlights how the student did compared to classmates. In contrast, praise that focuses on a student's ability, such as, "Great job, you're really good at this," sends a mixed message. On the one hand, students may experience a sense of pride if a teacher takes note of their ability, but it shifts attention away from what students learned. And how they can improve. By praising students' ability too often, teachers may create the impression that being smart is more important than working hard. Attribution training. Students who attribute their performance to external factors or to their own lack of ability are at risk for weak motivation. Can teachers change these attribution patterns? Again, instructor feedback can influence the way that students interpret their performance. To cultivate a mastery orientation among students, it is important to repeatedly emphasize the connection between effort and outcome, commenting on student progress, clarifying strengths, as well as gaps between their current performance and the goal. As a final strategy, I want to recommend a technique called an exam wrapper that engages students in careful reflection on their learning and performance. After an exam, students answer questions about their study strategies, analyze the mistakes they made, and plan their study strategies for the next exam. The instructor collects these and may share specific examples, particularly interesting strategies, with the class. The exam wrapper supports motivation by putting student attention right where it needs to be, on the connection between how they studied, analysis of their performance, and what changes they can make to improve their future learning. This has been a quick tour of motivation strategies. If you want additional information and examples of these approaches, see the list of recommended resources and readings on the Cattle Student Learning blog.